Look, man, I know this isn't WrestleMania or SummerSlam or even Survivor Series, but over the years, Backlash has produced a lot of awesome stuff. And for the most part, the shows themselves actually deliver. Sometimes Backlash ends up being better than the WrestleMania that they follow. Plus, I'm also going to Backlash this year, so I kind of wanted to show some love to the show's history. And with that being said, it's your boy Mo if you don't already know, and this is the best match of every WWE Backlash. Let's do this damn thing. We start with the first ever Backlash in 1999, which doesn't really get talked about much, despite it honestly being a better show than WrestleMania 15 the month before. But to be fair, that's not exactly a high bar to cross. We even had a WrestleMania rematch on the show that was better than the original in Stone Cold vs. The Rock in a no-holds-barred match. This was balls to the wall off rip. They were brawling all over the arena, and this man rocked, dog. This dude grabbed the camera mid-match to talk shit to Austin and the whole crowd, just for Austin to get up and stun his ass. Absolute comedy, dog. But when you got Shane McMahon as the referee, it was always gonna get overbooked. You got Vince coming out with the smoking skull belt and smacking Shane in the head with it. Meanwhile, you got Undertaker kidnapping young Stephanie McMahon backstage. 1999 was a wild time in the WWF, folks. Now, Austin and Rock would obviously go on to have better matches, but this was definitely a fun watch nonetheless. This is a show that I think everyone can agree should have been WrestleMania that year. Backlash 2000 is a show I plan on covering soon, so I won't say too much, but this show is absolutely legendary for so many reasons. Biggest reason being everything that went into its main event, The Rock vs. Triple H. From the build with Austin being announced to be in The Rock's corner, to him not showing up at all until the last minute, and then The Rock having to fight from underneath with almost the entire McMahon family against him. And the crowd pop when Stone Cold shows up to help The Rock. Holy shit. And the way the crowd erupts again when Rock wins the title, these vibes are just immaculate. Not to mention Rock and Triple H having a damn good match before all of that. Man, can't wait to do the review for this. Stay tuned. It's crazy how much can change in the span of a couple months. The vibes from before WrestleMania X7 compared to this show are just not the same. The peak was clearly starting to fade at this point. Now, this show wasn't bad, but nothing that really stands out as an incredible match. Even Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit in an Ultimate Submission match, which sounds like a 5-star match on paper, was just good. Maybe I was just expecting more from these two, but that just says a lot about them. And it was 30 minutes of graps from two of the very best to ever do it. It had no chance of being anything less than good. And this followed the perfect formula to do an Iron Man style match, where the babyface has to fight from underneath to give the crowd a chance to get into it. In this case, Benoit going down 3-1 and then having to clutch up to tie it up near the end to go to sudden death. This wasn't a classic by any means, but a good match overall. Here's the first underrated gem of the video with Kurt Angle versus Edge. These two went on a tear in 2002, whether it was against each other one-on-one or with the rest of the SmackDown 6 towards the end of the year. Some really good near falls in the end that really gets the crowd going. You had Edge kicking out of an Angle slam. There was even this hilarious spot where Kurt tried to use the chair on Edge and accidentally hits the ropes, which makes the chair bounce off his face, and that got a very close 2 count. Even though Edge ended up losing this match, not only did he look good in defeat, he did get his revenge down the line. And yes, this was the same feud where Kurt would eventually have his head shaved bald, which, to be fair, if you look at Kurt's hairline here, Edge was kind of doing him a favor. I will say though, I really wish we got to see them recreate this magic in the main event scene before Kurt left for TNA, but hey, such is life. Backlash 2003 is one of the most skippable pay-per-views I have ever watched. My reaction to everything on the show was just, eh. Besides this having Goldberg's first WWE match, nothing really stands out as being all that memorable. I'll give best match of the night to a tag match between Los Guerreros and Team Angle, but even that, surprisingly, was just fine. It took a long while for the match to really get going, and once it did, they only had like 5 minutes left. Now, if you want to see some real tag team graps involving these two teams, just watch the Fatal 4-Way from WrestleMania 19 the month before. Now that was worth the time. Now we go from a very skippable show to a Backlash that has 2 matches that you could argue for the best match in the show's history. So let's go ahead and cover them both. First, you got the insanity of the hardcore match between Randy Orton and Cactus Jack. From start to finish, this was a freaking war. Cactus in the beginning trying to chase Orton with Barbie had me dying though. And my goodness, that bump from Randy onto the thumbtacks was not for the faint of heart. And this match did so much for Randy Orton to truly establish him as a superstar. And we gotta give Mick Foley his credit for that as well. And now on the other hand, we had a rematch from WrestleMania 20, Chris Benoit versus Shawn Michaels versus Triple H, which, hot take, I think is just as good, if not better, than the original. The environment was amazing with Benoit being the home country hero on top of HBK being as hated as he was in Canada. And of course, Triple H being as hateable as he was. You even had the cathartic ending with Shawn tapping out to the sharpshooter with Earl Hebner as the referee. Really dope callback if you ask me. And honestly, the only reason, and I mean the only reason I prefer the triple threat was because of the moment in the hardcore match where Bischoff tells Foley he can't light the baseball bat on fire. Come on, Eric. I mean, Confessions was out already. Take Usher's advice because you should let it burn. Damn, that was corny as hell. All right, next one. Here's another underrated gem for y'all, which was the opener of this show. Chris Jericho versus Shelton Benjamin for the IC title. It's matches like these that make me say Shelton Benjamin should have got a more prominent spot. His athleticism in this match was just off the charts here. There was a spot where Shelton ran from across the ring and casually leaps onto the top rope to hit Jericho with a superplex like it was nothing. And no matter how much the damn learning tree tries to cloud my judgment, Chris Jericho was a dog in his prime. The match isn't anything top tier, but it was a good face versus face match that kept me hooked the whole time. Now, Jericho losing would be the spark for his mini heel run in 2005, which I wish would have been a little longer because heel Jericho is always the best Jericho. The next few entries are probably going to make me sound like an Edge Glazer, and to be fair, I kind of am, but you'll just have to cope with that. But the reason I say that is because this man legit went 4 straight years of having the best match on these shows. Starting with this triple threat with John Cena and Triple H for the WWE title. I don't think this match gets nearly as much love as it actually deserves. And I really like the story going in, with each guy getting a pinfall win on one or the other, showing how any of these guys could legit win. And that's how this match really felt. The intensity was through the roof in this match, especially when we saw the most crimson of crimson masks from Triple H himself. Everything just clicked here, and it looked like at many points either guy could walk away with the win. Hell, Cena barely gets away with the title because of a roll-up. Now, Triple H being the one to stand tall after the match was kind of weird, considering he was about to turn face. But it pales in comparison to the blasphemy from Vince and Shane earlier in the show. If you know, you know. Ah, yes, the first WWE pay-per-view I ever watched in real time. And as my welcome to the WWE Universe gift, I got arguably the greatest Fatal 4-Way in WWE history. Cena, Mr. Backlash himself, Edge, Orton, Michaels. Those names alone should be enough evidence to explain why this match was so epic. And this match arguably had one of the best finishes to a match I've ever seen. So Edge spears Randy and then Cena hits the FU on Edge just to eat sweet chin music from Shawn. But because Cena fell on top of Randy, the ref had to count and Cena retains without even realizing it and before Shawn could break up the pin. So well done after a match full of incredible action. What an introduction to the Graps for your boy. I think I could watch Undertaker and Edge wrestle all day. Don't matter if it's TLC, Hell in a Cell, the main event of WrestleMania, or even here at Backlash 08. Now, this might be the weakest of their big matches, but I don't think they're capable of missing against each other. They really had the crowd going by the end of it, with some really good near falls, and even some outside interference from Kurt Hawkins to almost give Edge the win. But that finish with Taker basically choking Edge out with the Hell's Gate was insanity. They took Edge out on a stretcher just for Edge to still be a thorn in Taker's side after all. It really took Taker sending this man to actual hell for it to end, huh? Now I get to talk about what was the conclusion of my favorite rivalry of all time. John Cena versus Edge, this time in the Last Man Standing match. I will say, just personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Last Man Standing matches just because of how slow they can feel. And the match did start at that pace, but once they got going with the crazy spots, they really got going. They fought all around the arena, did all kinds of big moves that couldn't keep each other down, including an AA into the crowd. These guys told a really great story of how well they knew each other and how much they really wanted to end each other by any means. But dog, that finish when Big Show comes out and chokeslams Cena through the spotlight, shit had me spooked as a kid because goddamn. And hey, It's the last time we'll see Edge on this list, all right? I promise. Or do I? So we jump 7 years later to when WWE decided to bring Backlash back, and this is a show that signifies the beginning of my peak wrestling fandom, where SmackDown would just go from here and start producing some incredible work for like 6 to 7 months. And this show as a whole felt like a statement that SmackDown wasn't playing no games. But nothing made that statement more than WWE giving AJ Styles, Mr. TNA himself, the WWE Championship in under a year of being in the company. Who would have thought? And the main event with Styles and Dean Ambrose was damn good too. AJ was arguably still the best wrestler in the world. Every card he was on, he'd have at worst the second best match on the card. And while Ambrose's title run was shaky, he'd always step up to the plate when it came to match time. But this visual, man, still low-key wild almost 9 years later. Well, now here's the show that pretty much was the beginning of the end of my peak fandom. Why? Well, just look what happened at the main event. But even besides that, something just felt off about this show. Even the best match on the card felt like it had something missing, which was disappointing considering the two guys in the ring. AJ Styles and Kevin Owens were having a pretty good match, but nothing that screamed dream match levels. And just when it felt like it was going to get into another gear, the match just ends in a DQ. Strange show to say the least. We'll talk about this another day. Boy, does this show suck. I vividly remember watching this in real time, and when the show went off the air, with my head in my hands, I remember saying out loud to myself, that was so boring. And the sentiment is the exact same in Big 2025. And the funny part is, this show started so promising. Seth Rollins versus The Miz for the IC title was an absolute barn burner. Now the result was pretty obvious going in. Miz had just moved to SmackDown and Seth had just won the IC title. But man, did they make me believe otherwise in this match. The false finishes near the end really sold me and the crowd, especially when Seth banged his surgically repaired knee on the ring post and Miz capitalized with a figure four. Just a really good story being told here. Seth Rollins was just on form throughout 2018, wrestling like he had something to prove night in and night out. And when people try to tell me The Miz can't wrestle, I'll just show them this match right here. This is what an Intercontinental Championship match should feel like. And it was a hard match to follow, but I didn't think it'd get as rough as it did after this.
Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for.
So we skip 1 year when it comes to Backlash, and now there's no real fans in the building? What kind of sorcery is this? Also, I lied, Edge is back on the list, because now it's time we talk about the greatest wrestling match ever. Man, did they find every way to run that into the ground. And obviously it didn't reach that tier, but to be fair, the match with Orton and Edge was pretty good despite it going a bit too long for my liking. I kind of look at it as an homage to old school wrestling with its pacing and even how they were using all these finishers of all these different legends. Definitely not the easiest rewatch on the list, but it was easily the best part of a weird ass show. Man, there they go changing stuff for no reason. WrestleMania Backlash, dog. Don't make it any less of a B show, Vince. I will say though, this might be the most underappreciated show of the Thunderdome era. Maybe that has something to do with the damn zombies clogging our minds. But outside of that, there's some really good stuff here, especially when it came to Roman Reigns versus Cesaro. I don't know what it was with Roman during this time, but he was just putting on bangers with some of the very best. Also, remember when it felt like they'd actually pushed Cesaro? Yeah, that was a nice few weeks. But this match was really well done, and it's not easy for matches without a crowd to keep me as hooked as this one did. They made it feel super competitive. Roman kept up with a world-class wrestler like Cesaro and absolutely held his own. The result was more obvious than Finn Balor losing a big singles match, but this was a banger nonetheless. One of the few clean wins of Roman's whole title reign as well.
But you can't kill my vibe. I'm a head case and I'm leading the parade.
Now, this was another Backlash that had two matches that I can argue were equally as good. First was the opener with Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, which might have been the weakest of their trilogy, but that says a lot about how good their matches were. However, one thing about me, I enjoy chaos. And that 6-man tag in the main event was nothing short of that. This was just so much fun. The crowd really loved Randy Orton here. The teases between Roman and Drew really got everyone going. And there were so many cool spots, like Randy reversing the spear into an RKO, a Uranagi through the announce table, and to finish it off, Riddle getting a super RKO off the top. but Roman being smarter and tagging Jay on the way down to spear Riddle for the win. Man, I wish we would have saw more of this from the Bloodline throughout their run because this was fantastic. So now we've reached the international Backlash shows, and this show just set the precedent for how special these international pay-per-views could really be. It's the way this Puerto Rican crowd made everything feel so epic. I mean, just look at Bad Bunny's entrance for goodness sake. It felt like a freaking concert. And the street fight he had with Damian Priest was just as incredible. Arguably the best celebrity match WWE has ever had. Dame did such a great job of making Bad Bunny look great in there, and the cameos here really elevated this match into something special. Mad respect to Bad Bunny for not half-assing it whatsoever as well.
If they want a battle, I'm ready for war. I come from the struggle and love all the trouble. I've been here before.
Man, I can almost hear the French crowd still ringing in my ear a year later. They took everything on the show, which was good on its own, and elevated it to a whole nother level. Especially their reaction to AJ Styles. These maniacs had the damn camera shaking. And even without that, Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles was definitely one of the best matches of 2024. It was a perfect first defense for Cody to really set his title reign on the right track. And as for AJ, it was the first classic he'd had in a while, so it was good to see that he still had that in the tank. The way they took their time to really build the match to a crescendo was really well done. Now, Cody kicking out of the burning hammer of all moves, and at one no less, was a bit wild, but besides that, damn near a perfect match in an amazing environment. Alright folks, that's it. The best match of every WWE Backlash. Now, you let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with any of my picks, but if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like up the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, share the video around. I appreciate you for watching. Follow the socials. I'm out of here. I'm gone.